Hello and welcome to Know How Tap. This is part 3 of our Service Control Policy series. In this video, we're going to walk through a few practice scenarios to help you test whether your understanding of SCPs is solid. If you haven't already, I recommend checking out part 1 where we deep dive into how SCPs work. And in part 2, we cover the most important exceptions that apply to service control policies. Alright, here is our base scenario. We're using an IAM role to access an S3 bucket in the same AWS account. The policies you see on the screen will be in different states, and your job is to figure out the final outcome based on how they're configured. In scenario 1, let's say we have a service control policy that allows a specific API action. At the same time, we also have an identity-based policy and a resource-based policy that both explicitly deny that same action. What do you think will happen? Go ahead and pause the video and think it through, both the outcome and why it happens in this case. The correct answer is that the API call is denied, and the reason is simple. An explicit deny always overrides an explicit allow, no matter where it appears. All right, that one was the easiest. Let's try something a little bit more interesting. In scenario 2, the SCP still allows the action, but now there is no identity-based policy and no resource-based policy that allows the user to make that call. What do you think will happen? This should come as no surprise. SCPs do not grant permissions. They only define the maximum permissions that could be allowed. Because there's no identity-based or resource-based policy explicitly allowing the action, the request is denied due to implicit deny, which we covered in part 1 of the series. Let's change things slightly in scenario 3. The SCP still allows the action, and this time we do have an identity-based policy that explicitly allows that action, but there is no resource-based policy involved. Pause the video and think it through. What happens and why? In this case, the action is allowed. You only need one explicit allow to overcome implicit deny, and that can come from either the identity-based policy or the resource-based policy. Let's flip that around in scenario 4. In this case, the SCP allows the action, the identity-based policy allows it too, but the resource-based policy has an explicit deny. What do you think will happen? The action is denied, and again, the reason is quite simple. An explicit deny anywhere in the evaluation chain will always override any allows. In scenario 5, let's try a different case. There is no custom SCP applied, there is no resource-based policy, but there is an identity-based policy that explicitly allows the action. Go ahead and pause the video and think it through. In this case, the action is going to be allowed, but why? Well, because no custom SCP is applied, that means that the default SCP is in effect, and as you can see, it allows all actions in the AWS account. As long as an identity-based or resource-based policy explicitly allows the action, the request succeeds. Final scenario, I saved the best for last, so here we go. We have an allow list SCP, and both identity-based policy and the resource-based policy explicitly allow the action. What do you think will happen? If you thought this was a trick question, you'd absolutely be right. The answer depends entirely on whether the allow list SCP actually includes the service and the action being requested. If the action is included in the SCP, the request is allowed. If it's not, the request is denied, even though the identity and resource-based policies allow it. How many did you get right? Let me know in the comments. Hopefully this helped solidify how SCP evaluation really works in your mind. And if you haven't already, go ahead and check out part 1 and 2 of this series. Part 1 covers how SCPs work in depth, and part 2 walks through important exceptions you'll run into in real environments. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.